Hey everyone, welcome to this week's episode of This Week in People. We've got a lot to cover. Let's dig right in. So I want to open with a follow-up from a article and actually an update I mentioned last week in the pilot episode around the FlexWork initiative. This is an open source collaboration between Zoom, Palo Alto Networks, Dropbox, and other companies, including Uber, where they're going to actually work together to actually open up some of their practices, really with the aim of accelerating and kind of seizing this moment in 2020 to, radically shift and accelerate and improve people practices and programs. So I had a chance to chat and discuss this with Lynn Oldham, the Chief People Officer at Zoom this week, and they're likely going to be launching their website next week. I'll have a link in the show notes to allow you to sign up and register for their newsletter to be updated when that site goes live. But as they scale and grow, they're going to have a range of case studies and other resources to actually help practitioners think differently about their practices with an early focus on remote practices, but certainly scaling beyond that. So really exciting to see how that evolves, and big hat tip on a nice, good open source initiative for our field. All the links to the articles I'm going to walk you through are going to be included in the show notes. And so this next piece that I thought was really interesting was the Culture 500 Index, which was a collaboration between MIT Sloan and Glassdoor, where they took all of the Glassdoor data and basically created rankings for companies on a range of criteria. So again, it's based on Glassdoor data. Take that as you will. But I think it's a pretty interesting resource, not just to look at the rankings by these indices, but actually being able to compare companies. So you can pick any two companies and you can compare them across any of those 8 data points to actually see how they grade out based on Glassdoor data. So interesting tool and platform, I think worth your time. There was an HBR article this week about today's leaders needing empathy and vulnerability, not necessarily bravado. And I thought it was a good read. I thought specifically there were some tips in there around how to actually, be more vulnerable as a leader. And I think in these times, vulnerability is really a crucial trait, not just for CHROs and CPOs, but all leaders, to allow you to kind of really connect and engage with your teams, and to allow them to kind of see you and relate to you in ways that I think these tough guy or tough girl exteriors just don't allow. So anyway, worth your time. I think it's worth a read, particularly for those of you that are kind of coaching your executives to become more vulnerable as leaders. The next article I want to flag to you is, somebody who's been doing outstanding work throughout their career, but certainly in 2020, which is Josh Bersin. So they released a report on business resilience this week, and the report is an exceptional. They had survey results from hundreds of respondents, and with that they were actually able to identify what were some of the highest impact things that business and people operators and leaders and businesses could do during these times. And so they break that down by higher impact activities, lower impact activities, stages of responses. So kind of look at the impact curve, if you will, of companies that are on the leading edge versus ones that are slipping behind and doing the bare minimum, and exactly what they're doing at each of those stages to allow them to be successful. So I know time is finite. All of you are struggling with where to invest your time and energy. This report is a really helpful resource to help you kind of prioritize and focus your efforts. First Round is one of my favorite publications in the space. They always have great content. This publication this week is a continuation of a series that they launched, I believe last year, around interview questions. And so this set of questions is refreshed for 2020. Some exceptional questions there. So I would definitely recommend any of you that are involved in recruiting, which is all of you, I'd recommend you give this a read, give it a bookmark. I think there's probably some great questions there you might want to pull out and share with your teams. So definitely worth your time on this one. One of my favorite newsletters is the Axios At Work newsletter by Erica Pandy. And so this week's newsletter actually dove into the importance of HR given all things 2020 and the kind of refocused attention on the impact of the field and the industry and the difficulty of the CHRO job right now. So I definitely recommend checking out this week's newsletter. It's worth your time to subscribe either way, because I think Eric has got a sharp perspective on all things people and talent, particularly around the business of people and talent. And the last thing I want to share this week is a new report out from Charthop. So Charthop just released their Charting Better Workplaces 2020 report. And the whole report is interesting, but they've got some really compelling key findings around gender wage gap, equity, difference between pay for different criteria and types of employees. And so an interesting kind of macro look at some pay factors and how that's actually impacting business. So certainly in our wheelhouse in HR and people operations. And that's a wrap for this week. So again, all the articles I just walked you through, I'll have links for those in the post. And in the meantime, stay safe out there, and I will see you next week.